Oh, uno, dos, tres, cuatro. You see that black boy over there running scared. His old man in a bottle. He done quit his 9 to 5. He drank full time and now he's living in a bottle. See that black boy over there running scared. His old man got a problem, and it's a bad one. He ain't done pawned off damn near everything. His old woman waiting for bottle.
Okay, welcome to The Reality Check with Charles Butler. Welcome to the show, folks. We are broadcasting live here on Red State Talk Radio, where it is an honor, privilege to be with you today, as it is every day. So I hope you stay tuned, kick back, relax, and hope to get informed, because we bring it to you straight. We don't pull any punches here at The Reality Check. And those of you who know anything about my career as a broadcaster know that I don't play. I bring it like it is. Donald Trump's taking a lot of heat for pulling the troops out of Syria and off the border. And he tried to do that last year. The reality is, I understand what he's doing, but at some point, these people have to step up and they have to cut their own deals. They have to step up and stop warring, because see, that's what these people do. These Afghans, these Syrians, these Turks, they get up to fight. They get up to go to war. That's all they do. They don't have aspirations of being doctors, lawyers, Indian chiefs. They get up and they go fight. That's what they do. That's what they've done for centuries. That's what all their ancestors have done. These wars are nothing new. The wars in Afghanistan are wars and warring tribes. Afghanistan is just a country on paper. It's a European creation. Nation states are European creations. That's why we couldn't understand Vietnam. That's why we couldn't understand the Middle East. That's why we couldn't understand how Saddam was holding together all these coalitions and how Saddam was suppressing other minorities. And we were going, that's what he had to do, because that is the nature of the country. Country, European term, European creation, nation state, European model. These people belong to a tribe. Example, I was in Africa in 2008 on a U.S. Trade, USTDA, U.S. Trade Development Association, USTDA. So I'm over there and I walk up to this group of black men, very distinguished looking group of black men, all in suits and ties, and introduce myself. Hey, I'm Charles Butler. I'm from Chicago. And this is in Accra, by the way, Accra, Ghana. And all of these men that were standing around were cabinet members in about 12 different nations, or vice presidents. Okay. And I walk up right into this group, and they were there and they were friendly. And they said, well, welcome home, brother. Welcome home. And, being the flippant American that I am, I said, no, this is not my home. They go, no, this is your home. Welcome home, brother. I said, no, this is not my home. My home is America. I'm an American. They said, no. Africa is your home. It's the home of all men. I said, no, Africa is not my home, though. America is my home, the United States of America. They said, well, I said, well, okay. Let me ask you this. What country would I be from? And so they kind of looked at me to look at, facial characteristics, because like if you look at Nigerians, you can tell Igbos, you can tell Yoruba, you can tell the different tribes have very distinctive features, right? You can tell these people. Same way in Pakistan, India, So they're looking at me, and they're very quizzically looking at me, and I say to them, okay, that may be too hard. because over the generations you have, we have Indian, we have white folks mixed in, so you have all these, this kind of mutt uh, 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 thing that we call America, right? Because a lot of white people have blacks blood in their line. They don't want to admit it, but they do. Um, and India, like Pocahontas. I noticed Pocahontas didn't say she was black. She said, I'm Indian. She would have been better off trying to claim she was Latina. But that's neither here nor there. So these Africans were looking at it. I said, well, okay, guys, that may be a little hard telling me what country I'm from. Let's just try this. What tribe do you think I belong to? And immediately they said, almost to a person, laughing. And I mean, they were laughing very hard. Okay, you win. They got it. They knew that I got it. They knew that I understood that they all belong to a tribe. This thing called Ghana, the thing called Mali, the thing called Nigeria is a European creation. Has nothing to do with who they are and who they perceive themselves to be. Oh, we're Nigerian. Da, 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 da. Please. That's just a European thing. At the end of the day, they're very Africans are very tribal. Asians are very tribal, but not so much as the as the Africans and Asians on the continent. You look at Japan; it's very homogeneous, very different. But remember, the Japanese had its various tribes or armies or empires, as they call them, or whatever. So this is nothing new. Nothing new at all. Nothing new at all. So in this area, these Kurds and the Syrians and the Turks, they've been fighting for centuries. Why should we be there? This at the end of the day, this is a British thing. See, the Brits went over there in the 1800s, raped, pillaged, stole natural resources from those countries, women from those countries, and they're not paying with blood like we are. We stepped into the Middle East. That was a British fiasco. The British created the so-called Middle East. There is no term Middle East. That's a British term, like the Orient. That's an English term. There's no Orient or Oriental. It's the Asians in Asia, Asia Major, Asia Minor. So, no one is really talking about this from a historical perspective. No one's really dealing for this for what it really is. When I heard President Trump was going to pull the troops out of Syria last year, I started doing some research, started reading, doing some history, because I remember very vaguely in my studies in undergrad talking about the partitioning of that part of the world in 1919 during the Versailles Treaty. And then I read a book called 1919, which was a very interesting book, a serious discourse on 1919 and all of the unfair decisions that were made that impacted the Japanese. They were basically cut out of world trade. That's why they took an expansionist approach during the late 30s to try to expand and get oil and other resources by invading Asia. Hitler and we only know part of the rise of Hitler. When they talk about the rise of Hitler, they also want to talk about hate. Well, this thing wasn't so much about hate as it was about oppressing the German people with really paying reparations that they could probably never mount or never really pay. It was unfair, and Churchill cautioned against it, and a number of world leaders cautioned against it, of course. But Woodrow Wilson, in all of his wisdom, and that's a guy that I really hate, and I don't really say that often. I don't really hate many people, but Woodrow Wilson is one of the people that I truly truly hate. And for a number of reasons, he was a racist. He was thought he was an elitist. He was a quasi popularist and segregationist. He was a lot of things, all kind of negative to me. But this book, you might want to pick it up. It's called Paris, 1919, and it was written by Maximilian. I think the lady's name was Michelle Maximilian. I'm just drawing a blank right now. But anyway, so in reading these books, you kind of understand how the Ottoman Empire was disassembled and broken up into basically small fiefdoms, small serfdoms. And we look at the Kakistans and the we call them the stands. You got Uzbekistan, Kakistan, Turkestan. You go, well, what are these things? Well, these are countries that have serious oil reserves, for one thing. you know, it always comes back to what? Natural resources. Comes back to um, what we can get out of it. But see, the thing is, it's like uh, the Iraqi war. We the American people, we spent billions of dollars defending Kuwait in Desert Storm. We spent billions of dollars in the Iraq Afghanistan wars. These people could afford to pay us. You know who's getting the oil out of Iraq? Russia and China. We're not getting any of that oil. If you don't believe me, look it up. By the way, that book is called Paris 1919, 6 Months That Changed the World. And it's written by, what's her name? Margaret. Margaret, wasn't, it's Margaret Macmillan, not Alexander. Margaret Macmillan. Wonderful book, long read. So it's one of those books you can pick up now, and you may finish it by Christmas. But it's a good read, and it's a lot of fun, I think. And but as Trump has said, and we have to understand that he's making a point today that he was tired of seeing these parents who were looking, you know, uh, he'd go to the Air Force base there in D.C. and people were breaking away and running and jumping on top of caskets and crying and screaming. They were very emotional. They lost a loved one, a son, daughter, husband, brother, father. And Trump says, "Hey, I'm tired of it. I am tired of looking at this. We're going to end these wars. We're going to bring our young people back. We're going to get them back home. And when they go to war, they'll go to war for a reason. They'll go to war for national security, not because we want to play soldier. We want to play the world's policeman. Germany's not playing the world policeman." And see, and Trump pointed this out in transcript, the transcript of with uh, Zelensky. Uh, and the Ukrainian president. And people don't never really want to focus on that or deal with that. But he was like, well, what is Merkel doing for you? What is Andrea Merkel doing for you? They have money. Why aren't they helping you? And that's where this thing went, and people don't talk about it. But if you read the transcript, and I've asked all of you to pick up a copy of the transcript, but he's very clear. Trump asked the president of Ukraine. He says, "Well," he says, "much more." He said, "We spent a lot of effort and a lot of time," meaning in the Ukraine. But this is the whole thing. Let me just quote the whole paragraph for you. This is what the president says to Zelensky. He says, "Well, it's very nice of you to say that," meaning how much we've helped them, and money we've sent them. He says, the president goes on to say, "I will say that we do a lot for Ukraine. We spent a lot of effort and a lot of time. much more than the European countries are doing, and they should be helping you more than they are. Germany does almost nothing for you. All they do is talk, and I think it's something that you should really ask them about. When I was speaking to Andrea Merkel, she talks Ukraine, but she doesn't do anything. A lot of the European countries are the same way. So I think it's something you want to look at. But the United States thinks it's the United States has been very, very good to Ukraine. I wouldn't say that it's reciprocal necessarily because things are happening that are not good, but the United States has been very, very good to Ukraine, meaning that the Ukraine was involved in trying to undermine his presidency, which is true. We know that about the crowd strike. So Zelensky goes on to say, he starts out, the first words out of his mouth after the president says that is, yes, you're absolutely right. Not only 100%, but actually 1000%. And I can tell you the following. I did talk to Andrea Merkel. I did meet with her, and I also met with and talked with Macron and told them that they were not doing quite as much as they need to be doing on issues with the sanctions. They're not enforcing the sanctions. This is the sanctions on Russia, of course. Now, you have to remember Barack Obama, and I hate to go back and bring Barack up and put him in this thing, but Barack is right at the center of this. He's at the nexus of this. Barack Obama allowed Putin to take over Crimea, but he sent a message to Putin. What did he say to Medvedev in an open mic snafu? And I quote, "Tell Vlad this is my last election, and after it, I can be more flexible." What does Putin do when he comes into office? He takes Ukraine. So now he has Kiev. He has a water port now on the Black Sea. Used to be a big base at USSR. It was a big base during when Russia was USSR, because Russia's basically landlocked. The majority of Russia is landlocked. I mean, it's no secret. It's crazy. And the president's saying, we are pulling out. We are getting out of these endless wars. People don't want to hear it, though, because it benefits some. It definitely benefits military people. You make rank, you get experience. It's what you sign up for. You sign up to go get that butt. You sign up to be in combat. You sign up to be in the action. Get tired of playing soldier. You want to be a soldier. You want to get that combat badge. You know? Unlike President Obama, who said to the people at West Point at a graduation ceremony, we're not going to send you into combat. That's why they went to West Point, you moron. They want to be soldiers. They're not like you and your cowardly self. Such a girly man was that president. Such a disappointment. That's what my friends all say. Oh, he was such a disappointment. Such a disappointment. Yeah. You knew that. It's like that Roy Orbison song. You knew damn well he was a snake before you voted him in. Okay. So I'm glad that President Trump is pulling us out of these skirmishes, pulling us out of these wars, putting our finest military people at risk for nothing. These are wars, and these are situations that the Kurds are going to have to sit down with the Turks and work it out, and the Syrians and work it out. We cannot continue to be there for a lifetime. Some of these guys have been in combat for 20 years. 20 years. When is enough enough? Well, we've had enough. We paid our dues. It's time for someone else to step up. I want to play a clip from Uncle Joe. Joe said that President Trump needs to be impeached. Let's hear this because this is really whack. You know, I mean, I've heard a lot of wacky things lately, but this is truly whack. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
Be impeached. He's shooting holes in the Constitution, and we cannot let him get away with it.
He's shooting holes in the Constitution. We can't let him get away with it.
As President Trump late tonight fires back.
So Biden is dropping like a rock. I don't think he's going to make it. And he sees what's happening to him. I guess he's no longer the front runner.
Oops. Is Trump right again? Yeah. Like he was right about Pocahontas. Yeah. Like he was right about little Marco. I mean, see, I don't mind the president calling folks out. Some people do. I've never mind the president calling people out. But Hillary, you know, I mean, so when the going gets tough on these people, when they see that their star is fading, what's the first thing they do? They attack Trump. Hillary Clinton says Trump should tell the truth. That's like the pot calling the kettle black. No pun intended. Okay. Totally.
I'm a serious person, but I'm also a fun person. But I think I probably came across as too serious. My job, especially as a woman and the first woman to go as far as I did, that I had to help people feel good about a woman in the Oval Office, a woman commander in chief. And so I may have overcorrected a little bit.
No, you lied. You destroyed evidence. You didn't pay attention to the law. You had a subpoena to produce emails. You destroyed the emails. You destroyed your servers. You had them washed clean. You destroyed cell phones. Tried to destroy cell phone records. That's what you did, Hillary. You think that people aren't watching? You think just because they're not talking about it on MSNBC or CNN, the Clinton News Network, that we're not paying attention? The American people are smarter than that. They don't pay attention to the news anymore. They don't pay attention to the talking heads anymore. The Chris Matthews, the Rachel Maddows, the Don Lawrences, the Don Lemons, the Wolf Blitzer. We don't pay attention to those people anymore. We hardly ever pay any attention to people like Hannity and Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham. You know, I mean, you just kind of take it with a grain of salt. Because you have to, because they're generally not telling the truth. But what does Hillary say?
Nixon White House and administration concluded was the right thing to do was tell the truth. Yeah,
Now, this is a woman who during Watergate, now remember what she just said. Hold on. Let me play this for you again.
Did a little bit. Many in the Nixon White House and administration concluded was the right thing to do was tell the truth.
She concluded that the people in the White House, in Nixon's White House, decided they should tell. They were always telling the truth. The only person that lied was John Dean. John Dean lied on everyone. When the prosecution needed something done or said, they would tell John Dean to say it. And he would say it as if it were gospel because he didn't want to spend any time in jail. And look at him. He's a little weasel. He's a little coward. But Nixon had him in the highest echelons of government sitting beside. He wasn't tough. You know, these guys all act tough and portray like they're, you know, real men. They're not. They're males. When the going gets tough, they don't get going. Now, their wives may be tough, but they're certainly not.
Yeah, tell the truth. And that would be advice that should be given to anybody caught up in this.
Oh, so she wants Trump to tell the truth, but she doesn't tell the truth. Example. Same conversation almost. I think it was the same interview. Hillary had the nerve to say this. In the 2016
election, Trump basically said, Russia, if you're listening, you will be richly rewarded if you can find Hillary Clinton's emails. And of course, we know the Russians hacked the DNC, hacked my campaign, etc. Trump knows he's an illegitimate president who got illegitimate foreign help.
She actually said that she beat him before. She said that. She said he's an illegitimate POTUS. I beat him once, I'll beat him again. Well, if you beat him, Hillary, why aren't you in the White House? Why aren't you in the White House? Why aren't you in the Oval Office? Why aren't you signing bills that come from the House and the Senate if you beat him? See, but American people are so stupid today. And I'm saying stupid. I'm not calling them unsophisticated. I'm not sugarcoating it. Americans have been so dumbed down. And see, I think and I said this yesterday, my group of high school students, probably the last group that really got an education, that really were forced to be critical thinkers and taught to be Americans and to appreciate America for what she is, how she is, and how she truly functions. After that, the power structure, both Democrat and Republican, tried to control the populace, tried to control your thought processes, try to control everything that you think and eat. Wait a minute. Why do we have laws that you should wear a seatbelt? That should be a personal choice. If I choose not to wear my seatbelt, that should be on me, my family. If I get in an accident, break my back or whatever, that's a choice that I made and that my wife and daughter or parents or whomever has to live with. No, instead, it is a law because we, the government, are trying to protect you. So it's a law, and if you don't put on your seatbelt, guess what? We are going to give you a $200 ticket because we're trying to save your life. And see, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, but we have a generation of kids who've grown up wearing their seatbelts because that's what they've been taught to do, to get in the car and put on your seatbelt because it's a good thing for you. Not even a choice. It's something that we must do. Oh, man, you can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. So we're going to have Dan Perkins come on with us a little later. Dan's an author of a trilogy of books called The Brotherhood of the Red Nile. And it's really interesting that he kind of covers some of these things in his book. And I don't know if he's a terrorist. No, I'm just kidding. But a lot of these scenarios he's put in his book. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a short, and I do mean short, little break and bring Dan on, okay?
Hey, this is Leonora Cravota from Red State Talk Radio for My Pillow. I used to have trouble sleeping. My Pillow changed all that. I now fall asleep within moments of my head touching my pillow. That's how comfortable My Pillow is with its patented interlocking fill. My Pillow stays cool and does not go flat. Plus, it's machine washable and dryable. My Pillow has a 10-year warranty and a 60-day comfort guarantee. My Pillow is also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation, and it's made right here in the USA. My Pillow is now offering Red State Talk Radio listeners a 4-pack special with 2 premium standard or queen pillows and 2 go anywhere pillows. That's 4 pillows for the price of 1. To take advantage of this special offer, call 1-800-961-9194 and ask for promo code Red State. That's 1-800-961-9194, promo code Red State. Put sleepless nights behind you with My Pillow, the most comfortable pillow you will ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Kim Moline, co-owner of the Wingstop restaurants in Lansing and South Holland.
Hey, Tom, I've got to be honest. Although I was unhappy with our old payroll company, I was pretty apprehensive about transitioning into a new one. When it comes to payroll, delays and lost data are really unacceptable. But I'm happy to say your staff really made it easy for us, and the transition couldn't have been smoother. And now, as we consider taking advantage of some of the other services you offer, well, let's just say that next time we won't be so chicken.
Thanks, Kim. Just call me at 630-242-1507. That's 630-242-1507. Or check us out at the web at precisionpayroll.com. That's precisionpayroll.com.
Next level.
Okay, we're back, and it's about 1:35. Looking at some of the stories that are not being covered by the news media is one that kind of strikes kind of close to home for us, and that is far right extremists attacking uh, innocent people in Germany. Jan Kippur, they killed two people, and an attack on a synagogue. Amazing. But that's what Germany gets for having all those Muslims and Andrea Merkel. And well, we need Muslims because they're young and they're having babies, and yeah, they're killing and raping and pillaging. And she's not talking about that. How Germany's rape rate and murder rate has gone up with this influx of Muslims. And yeah, I don't care what Muslim Americans think. I really don't. I'm just talking facts here. As I often say, Islam is not compatible with democracy. That's a fact. There's nothing devious about that. There's nothing Islamophobic about that. It's a fact that Islam is not compatible with democracy because they celebrate Mohammed. So, but they're going to get to the bottom of these attacks in Germany. They're just beginning, and the fear is that they're going to spread. We're not really talking about them here in the States. We're not talking about that in the States, but it's going to be interesting. I can guarantee you. But here in the U.S., see, we defend ourselves. We make sure that we do what's necessary. You know, I don't know if you've seen this. There's not a great deal being made of this. But there's a man who was a fighter pilot in World War One. He was an African American. You know, I hate that term, so I'm going to back up. Forget that. He's a Black American from Georgia, and he became a World War One ace. Went to France and flew for France. And the reason I bring this up is because the Museum of Aviation in Georgia just unveiled a statue to him. And Bullard tried to join the U.S. Air Service after the United States entered the war, but he wasn't allowed to. He wasn't accepted because he was Black. So he went to France and became a French ace. And they just unveiled this statue to him down at the Museum of Aviation in Georgia. How about that? Recognizing that this guy was an American who was denied acceptance to fight for his country because of the color of his skin. Now we had very historic Black units fight during World War One, but again, the American military gave them to the bloody French generals and they were called the bloody French generals because they committed soldiers to just an onslaught of charges in these trenches where they were just mowed down. They were just killed. They called them the bloody French generals. If you Google it, that's what will come up. And they're referencing the battles of World War One, the battlefields of World War One. But these Black troops went over there. I think they were the 369th New York Regiment. And when the Germans would see them coming, they'd run because these guys, their reputation was they never lost an inch to the enemy and they never lost a man to the enemy. So no one was captured. And they were some bad boys. And when they came back in 1919, they were not interested in sitting in the back of the bus, and they certainly weren't scared of some men in some white sheets who made good targets at night. But we don't cover those kind of things in history because we try to whitewash American history. And I'm not into that at all. I'm into bringing you what really happened and what transpired. It's not my opinion. It's just a fact. These are facts. So they unveiled this statute yesterday down at the Museum of Aviation in Georgia. And all I can say is about damn time. It's over 100 damn years. Who would have known that coons were flying in monkeys were flying in World War One? You know, I mean, this country, man. Yeah, we've come a long way, but really, have we? But no, the fact that we have this statute is symbolic of how we try to right wrongs, how we try to acknowledge our wrongs and move forward. And that's what we're doing. That's what we've done. I love it. Thanks, Museum of Aviation in Georgia. It's a great gesture. Just a great gesture, really. But I knew about this guy when I was a kid. I knew about this guy growing up. I knew about this guy when I went into aviation. But I bet you none of my white counterparts did. The demand falls. The demand for workers is falling off. Some people are saying it's the sign of a pullback. Well, yeah, the trade war is making some employers nervous, but they've averaged adding about 161,000 jobs a month so far in 2019, which is significant. So that would put us over what? That put us over about 1,600,000 in new jobs. It'll be more than that. It'll be 7, it'll be about 2 million new jobs over a 12-year period. I mean, over a 12-month period. It's great. I can only say that it's been a busy 2 days. Joe Biden calling for the impeachment of the president to take heat off he and Hunter, and his quid pro quo and his big boasting remarks. Well, I told that son of a bee, that big, I'll be just a son of a bee. They just fired the prosecutor so they could get that money that I told them they wouldn't get unless they fired him. That's what he said. But it's interesting how Rachel Maddow or Chris Matthews, none of these people pay any attention. Charges. A lot of people are leaking these days, and we have traitors in our midst. I think a lot of that comes from not performing good background checks. So we just got a Defense Intelligence Agency analyst. He leaked some information to a female journalist that he was living with at one time. Well, at least the guy got a little sexual gratification out of this, Oh man, it's amazing what people will do. What people will do. Now this guy's going to prison for a very long time, folks. Very long time for leaking the stuff that he leaked, even though it wasn't all that serious, but it was serious enough. It was classified. Now, I'm just trying to, we got about, 15 minutes, and I'm trying to figure out which story am I going to do? Am I going to do Harris, Miss Camilla Harris, and how she's touting her prosecutor background? It's not doing much for her because she was accused of putting people who couldn't afford good defenses into jail, into prison. So I don't know how much that's going to help her. But with the House focusing on the impeachment inquiry into President Trump, it hasn't changed much on the campaign trail for most of the Democratic presidential nominees or folks in the presidential field. So Kamala Harris is seizing on it to as a much needed opportunity to promote the fact that she was a hell of a former prosecutor who's going to right all the wrongs of America, and I guess she's talking about bringing people to justice. I think we're doing a pretty good job of that. But that's her new slant, and she started that this week. So she's fallen sharply in the national polls, and she makes people feel good, and she's good looking, and she talks a lot. She smiles nicely, but she's a lightweight. Did you hear me? She's a lightweight, total lightweight. We have Dan Perkins on the line, so I'm going to stop talking about Kamala, and we'll bring Dan on, and he's always has an interesting perspective. See what Dan's talking about today. Good afternoon,
sir. I apologize for being late, but I was tied up in a conference call I just couldn't get out of.
Well,
but
if
better
it was,
late than never, I guess.
If it was about money, I'll just take a little bit.
Actually, we were talking about my new radio show, which I've talked to you about.
Well, tell us about it.
We have a new radio show that premiered last Saturday that is groundbreaking radio and internet. Under the federal narcotics laws, radio and television stations who have FCC licenses are not permitted to advertise any cannabis products whatsoever. And so as the industry has grown, the voice of the industry is suppressed by the fact that they can't do radio and television. And podcasts have come out as a replacement. However, the problem with podcasts is that you can't do a podcast to a specific neighborhood. My partners and I have created a new network called W420RadioNetwork.com. And the show is America's Cannabis Conversation. It airs on Saturdays at 4:20 in the afternoon. And it's the first virtual radio network devoted to cannabis. And we have figured out a way to do broadcast neighborhoods. So I'll give you an example of the city of Boston where we are. We have a channel at Harvard, we have a channel at Fenway Park area, and we have a channel at the harbor. So that the dispensaries that are operating in those three markets will be able to buy time on a local channel in their market to produce information about their products and services and prices. And then each neighborhood will have a landing page where the dispensaries can, in fact, advertise on the internet their products and services, along with other providers.
Mm-hmm.
And first show was last Saturday. Really interesting, good response to start with. And the next show is day after tomorrow at 4:20 p.m., regardless of where you are in the country. It airs at 4:20 p.m. in your market. And it's W420RadioNetwork.com. And on this Saturday show, we have a gentleman who has figured out, who's an electrical engineer, that is especially important to people who are thinking about building grow houses. So we have a lot of young people who want to get in on the cannabis craze because they think they could become millionaires. And they may. And the most profitable piece of the business is the growing side. But if you grow in grow houses, you need powerful lights and powerful air conditioning. And many times people will go in and they buy a building thinking it's perfect for them. And they budget $4,000 a month for electrical bill. And their first month in operation, they see a bill for $21,000. Mm-hmm. It's because they didn't pay any attention to the sizing of their electrical capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So our guest helps them figure out what they need to do to re-engineer their electrical system so they can bring those electrical costs down.
Mm-hmm.
We have another gentleman, he and his wife and his children formed an online CBD marketing company. And we also have a guest, a public relations person for the National Cannabis Industry Association, speaking about the vaping problem that's going on in the country.
Yeah.
And then we have a money guy who talks about the implications of the vaping demise and how it's affecting the price of cannabis stocks and other companies. So it's a very diverse show. I do 2.5 minutes of breaking news, and it's very quick paced. And for the first month, the introductory month, it's advertising free. So we have extra content in it, and it's W420radionetwork.com.
Good.
But, and I thank you for that opportunity, but I do want to raise something and a political issue, if I have time.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Okay.
We got a little time.
I'm working, just before I got in that conference call, I began working on a new commentary. And the president of Turkey has learned from the Democrats how to weaponize refugees. Now, I don't know whether you saw the story or not this morning, but Erdogan says that if Europe doesn't back off of what he's doing with Syria, he will send 3.4 million refugees to Europe. Another invasion.
Right.
And so we have the Democratic Party using the people coming in from all over the world through the southern border, and now Erdogan is talking about weaponizing the refugees in the Middle East. So another issue that has been weaponized by the Democratic Party and now adopted by a foreign government.
What were some of the other issues that you mentioned? Are there some other things that?
Oh yeah, another interesting story is how the Democrats have been so influenced by the Muslim people that they've adopted taqiyya as a strategy. For those of your listeners who don't know what taqiyya is part of the Quran, which dictates how Muslims must interact with each other, and then how they can interact with infidels, non-believers. And under taqiyya, they can lie, cheat, steal, mislead, misdirect, do anything they want to achieve a goal without any moral consequences.
Right.
If you look at what Mr. Schiff has done when he stood there in his chair as the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee and lied to the American people about what the transcript of Donald Trump's conversation with the Ukraine president, and he lied, and nobody in the media called him out until Washington Post a week ago, last Friday, gave him 4 Pinocchios for lying, and you can't get any more from 4. And so now we have the letter from counsel for the White House.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just thinking about what. Go ahead.
Who he's talking about? We're not gonna play by your rules, and you're not playing by appropriate rules as it relates to impeachment. The idea that you can be, quote, impeached without the ability to have a lawyer, the ability to interrogate the witnesses against you, to see all the evidence. This is what the Democrats are trying to do. They're trying to circumvent the due process provisions of our Constitution, even in impeachment, by taking away the due process rights of the president.
Well, Hillary said that's okay. Pelosi said that's okay. We have to do anything we can to defeat this president because he's an illegitimate president who called on the Russians to look into me. And we know that the Russians hacked me. Well, the Russians hacked you, Hillary, long time before Trump called for them to hack you. You were warned. Your campaign was warned by the intelligence agencies, and the DNC were warned by the intelligence agencies. The RNC took the precautions to put protections in place so they weren't hacked. DNC, Hillary's campaign, they got hacked because they thought they were their friends, because they were doing business with the Ukraine. And, this is the other thing, Dan, I talk about. This thing with the Ukraine started with Barack Obama. This thing with the Ukraine, we have to just take this, for example. You remember when Barack was running in 2014, or I'm sorry, 2012, he said to Medved on an open mic, tell Vlad that this is my last election and I can be more flexible after it's over. What did Vladimir Putin do? The first thing he came in, he took Crimea. He took Crimea without a shot being fired. What did Barack Obama do? Nothing. And nobody says anything about this.
Right.
The Crimea is in the Ukraine. Right. Okay.
Yes.
The Ukraine is used to be called the breadbasket of the USSR. So this is a very strategic, and you had an invasion of Crimea, and the UN and Barack Obama did nothing. Right. So who's in bed with Putin? Is it Trump or is it Barack Obama? How come people don't connect those dots? This is the first time
they haven't.
As far as I know, this is the first time anybody is really talking. I don't hear anyone else drawing those conclusions, making those connections. Barack Obama opened up the Ukraine issue.
Yes. Yeah. And I have said on the radio many times over the last few weeks, if you go to Joe Biden's comment before the Council of Foreign Relations, what he said, which we have on video, he said, if you don't fire that prosecutor, you are not getting the $1 billion. And I'm leaving here in 6 hours. And if he's not fired within the next 6 hours, you're not getting the money.
Right.
Now,
the classic definition.
Wait, let me finish. That was what we heard. What was played down at a lower volume is what happened after that. And he said, when somebody apparently asked him whether he had the authority, he says, I have the authority of the President of the United States. Here's his number. Call him and ask him.
No,
that conversation, at that moment, he introduced that the President of the United States approved his vice president in the play for president.
So what he said was, what he said, Dan, is he said, they said to me, you're not the president. Only the president can make that decision. He said, I have the authority of the president. Call him. That's what he said. So, it's, I play the clip all the time. I played the clip numerous times, and we've talked about Takea on my show for the last 10 years because of El Razui, who explained Takea to me, and also explained why. He also explained in great detail why Islam is not compatible with what do you call it? Democracy. But look, we only have 30 minutes on Red State, so we're going to tie up Red State, and we'll continue a couple of minutes after out there on the internet, Facebook. So, folks, we will see you tomorrow here on Red State, same time, same place. And I don't know who the guests are going to be tomorrow, so you have to tune in, check us out. But it was Dan Perkins with us today. So we'll see you. Thanks for tuning in. But we're going to stick around, and then you can catch us out on Facebook and YouTube. Okay, so Dan, we're off of Red State, and we're just talking on YouTube and Facebook. Go ahead.
Okay, so I really think that the Democrats. Let me tell you a story. True story happened to me when I was in New Jersey 2 weeks ago visiting some of my money management clients. And I said, let me tell you something, or let me ask you, I'll give you an illustration, then ask you a question. You decide, or somebody decides, that we're going to call Apple's oranges.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got oranges and we got apples, but we're not going to call apples oranges. And so the media starts saying, well, all these years we were wrong, and apples should really be oranges, and oranges should really be apples. So from now on, we're going to call them not apples, but oranges. And you'll hear that the first time. That's crazy. But if they say it long enough and loud enough, people begin to say, well, must be true because I heard it time and time again. So what happens here is that by as Hitler said, if you tell a lie long enough and loud enough, the people will begin to believe it to be true.
Yep, that was Goebbels.
And
that was Joseph Goebbels.
But yes, he said it, but Hitler also said it too. I didn't say who said it first. I was just using it. But my point is, when we have witnesses who are testifying before this House Intelligence Committee behind closed doors, and Schiff selectively edits what they say to send out to the media, and the rest of the members of the committee are not permitted to say anything, we have a huge misdirection. So if everything that's being said for the last 2 to 3 weeks about this Ukraine situation has all come from the Democratic perspective, then would you expect any different results from the poll that Fox News reduced, that 50% of the people suggested that Donald Trump should be impeached, and 40% thought he should be removed?
I don't believe the polling, and I don't think that many Americans believe the polling at all, because I don't know anyone that's been polled. I live in a major city. I live in the third largest metropolitan area in the country. I talk to people all over the country. I talk to people in and out of government, in and out of business, and all levels of business. I don't know one person that has ever said they've been polled. So when they say that 90% of Americans think that assault weapons should be banned, I'm not part of that 90%. I don't know anyone that's been polled about banning assault weapons, and they certainly don't feel that weapons or replicas of assault weapons should be banned from personal ownership. Even Joe Biden came out last week and said that either you sell back, if I become president, either you're going to sell your guns, your assault weapons to the government, or you will register them with ATF so we can confiscate them if we need to.
Yep, I understand.
How does this guy?
See,
how does he think he's going to get elected with saying something like that? Trump's going to eat him alive.
Because what I've concluded, Charles, is that the Democrats have no longer care about the American people. All they care about is what they want to do and what they want to say.
Okay.
Their message.
Okay.
That's it. That's all they want to do. And so, as a result, they make these outlandish. I mean, Beto O'Rourke looks at the camera. We're coming to take your guns. Strongly, he said that. He didn't put any caveat on it. He didn't put any qualifiers. We're coming to take your guns. And I let me tell you an analogy I told this week on several shows. We have a problem in the United States right now with vaping pens. And there are some people that have died by taking illegal pens and illegal concoctions and inhaled them, and they got sick and they died. So we have politicians all over the country saying we should ban vaping pens. We know, the government knows, and the Center for Disease Control has said in a release last week, we do not know what is in the pens that is causing these people to die. We don't have the research to determine the answer to that question yet. So what the bureaucrats are saying, let's just ban everything. Well, it's the same thing with the guns. If some high school children are killed, or people in a Kmart are killed, or whatever, or Walmart, or a restaurant, the Democrats say, let's just ban all guns. So what we're doing is we want to make changes in the law based on what bad people do to adversely affect good people. The manufacturers who make these vaping pens and the canisters that go in them, or cartridges, under strict guidelines, have not broken the law and they've not put anybody in danger. But because people did it on the black market, let's get rid of all of them. Because somebody got a gun and shot and killed somebody, we should take away everybody's gun. That's the same logic. In neither case does it work.
It doesn't.
And that's why they're always defeated when they try and do that, because the vast majority of Americans, I mean, Hillary Clinton this past week said that the Constitution was really outdated.
When did she
And
say
it
that?
needs to be
I didn't
shredded.
hear. Well, I know that.
Yes.
I know
Go
that.
on.
I know that Barack has said that, but when did Hillary say that last week?
Yeah, I saw it on one of the news blogs.
Okay.
But you know, and so which reminds me, Charles, we've been on the air 2 to 3 years.
At least.
That's sound me. Yeah, 2 to 3 years. And I'm going to make a statement, and you're going to support me. I was the first guest on your program who said, well over a year ago, quote, that the Democratic Party is the party of victims. And the biggest victim in the Democratic Party will be the nominee for president in 2020. And I said, the biggest victim in the Democratic Party is Hillary Clinton. You remember me talking about that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening almost every day? Is Hillary going to run? What's she going to do? What's her strategy? Her strategy is she's going to let the things play out, and she's going to know when they go into the Democratic convention next summer, none of the remaining candidates will have enough votes to win the nomination on the first or second or third ballot.
Mm-hmm.
After third ballot becomes an open convention, and she's going to say she'd be happy to run for president.
Well, she said this week, I beat him before. I won last time. I'll win again.
Yeah, I saw that.
I fell over. I laughed so hard, man. I couldn't help myself. I fell over laughing.
No, I know. And the Democrats believe that. I mean, this is why they hate Donald Trump so much. Not because it's Hillary, because they believe that they were supposed to have the presidency. It was part of their overall plan that to take us to this globalist society. They needed a successor for Barack Obama, who was going to continue his evolution into a global society. And American people said, no, I don't want that. And so I'm saying that I think there's a couple of things going on that are unbelievable. Just quick. Mr. Trump's going to be in Minnesota tonight, Minneapolis, and the mayor didn't want him to come, but they've worked out their differences, and he's going to be there. I'm expecting he's going to have a huge turnout tonight and thousands of people outside. Typical Trump rally.
Mm-hmm.
Trump lost Minnesota by 1.5 percentage points,
Mm-hmm.
40,000 or 50,000 votes.
Mm-hmm.
One of the leading authorities in the Trump reelection committee said on Hannity this week, or Laura's program, we put one person and less than $500,000 in Minnesota. We're putting more people on the ground, and we're going to invest millions in Minnesota. Millions. And the Communist Farmers Party in Minnesota said recently they can't keep up with what the Trump campaign is trying to do in Minnesota. Number two, how dare Donald Trump go to San Francisco and Los Angeles and raise tens of millions of dollars and have to turn people away from his events in California.
Right.
And so they're opening an office in Washington State. never been there before, and he's going back probably several more times in California. I had said to you some time ago, I thought the election outcome, still believe it to be true, is going to be 48-2. I think there's a possibility it could be 49-2. You see what's going on in California? 800,000 people woke up this morning to no power.
Right.
Because there might be a fire hazard. So they shut them down. I listened to this guy this afternoon on the news who has a very large restaurant complex. Says he's losing $15,000 a day just in perishable food that's rotting.
Wow.
And so, again, it's California's decision, and I think I saw a poll a couple of Sundays ago. I think it was Pew, who surveyed 1,000 eligible voters in the state of California. Over 50% of them said they are thinking about leaving the state because the taxes are too high. Let me ask you a quick question. Where you buy gasoline in Chicago, what do you pay?
I think for what I'm paying, it's I shop at Costco, so it's like $3.29, but at a regular pump, it's $3.89.
And you know what it is in Los Angeles?
Yeah, it's probably
$6. No, $6.
Wow.
$6.
Well,
there's more tax.
I always knew that. We always talked about that because, the refineries are there in California, and they have the highest gas prices in the country.
They have the highest gas taxes in the country.
Yeah, well,
which creates the highest gas prices.
Yeah.
So if 50% of the eligible voters are thinking I'm moving because of the taxes,
oh yeah.
How does 800,000 people without power, and it's think about a Venetian blind, Charles. They're starting at the northern part of the state and periodically shutting the power all the way down to the California-Mexico border. Like a blind. So the quality of life is deteriorating rapidly in California. And from a tax standpoint, and now with all the junk on the streets and in San Francisco, and I heard a guy on the radio earlier this week who was from San Diego. He said, we ain't far behind San Francisco with all the stuff on the street, needles and feces and everything else. And,
I used to live in San Diego, and I can tell you they still issue jaywalking tickets there. But he's right.
It's been a few decades, but I used to spend a lot of time in San Diego, probably in the 80s, early 90s. Magnificent city. Climate was the best in the world, and the streets were clean but it's I don't want to say what it's turned into, but the idea that I think all these things are building up, and I'm jumping here, but because I know I've already spent way too much of your time.
No, we're good. We're good.
Huh?
We're good. Go ahead. I'm broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube, so just go ahead. We're
okay. I just have to watch my timer because I've got another interview at 4:00, so I have to spend a little time to get prepared. But anyway, I look at it and I say, I look at what's going on, and I look at what people are saying around the country.
Right.
And as I travel around the country, I'm all over the country, and I'm finding the support for Donald Trump is not going down. The support for Donald Trump is going up.
It is.
And I don't think the Democrats, either they see it and are unwilling to accept it,
no,
or they just can't see it.
No, they see it and they're terrified, Dan. They see it and they're terrified. Listen to me. I listen to Urban View, which is it's on Sirius XM. It's a bunch of liberal black hosts, and they're just, I have to listen to this stuff because it's so whack. My mind would never conceive of some of the things that of how they view the world, okay, and view issues. So I listen to, to the hosts who are whack, and I listen to the callers who are whack. And I tell you, today on one of the major host show, there must have been 4 people call in and talk about how they're going to vote for Donald Trump. And the 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 host couldn't handle it, man. He just would hang up on them. He just hang out. He couldn't handle it. I don't understand. This is Joe Madison. I don't understand how you could vote for a man who's a racist, who's a liar, and he just go on and on and on. And people go, hey, man, I'm voting for Donald Trump, dude. Hey, you can call him whatever you want. I'm voting for Donald Trump. You can sit here and bamboozle people all you want, but I'm voting for Donald. I mean, and these liberals, they don't know what to do. They're totally terrified.
Yeah, I have to ask you a question about what you just said. So I do apologize for interrupting. And as you know, I never considered myself to be politically correct. Okay. I don't know how to be politically correct. I only know how to be correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to be correct,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to be politically correct.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you a question. It's a serious question, brother. We come from different mothers, but we're soul brothers. We can ask anybody, each of us, anything we want. We've never had a problem, and I hope we never have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to make a statement or a question. Do you think, I'll make it 2 parts. Do you think people in general understand the tactics that the Democrats are using? And the second part of the question, are Black people blinded by their Democratic experience of not being able to see what's going on?
Well, to answer the first part, the first question, I think, yes, people understand what Democrats are doing. There's no question about that. People are very aware. They're very angry. They're very cognizant of the deceit and the lying that's taken place on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox. I just don't think that news shows have much credibility today. One of the shows, you and I haven't talked about this, but I loved how Ron Johnson just jumped all over Chuck Todd, and they tried to spin it as if he was out of control, and he was disrespectful, and he was rude, and he didn't know what he was talking about. No, he was very clear about how Democrats have treated the president and what they're doing to this country.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one.
I saw that. Yes.
So I thought that was great. Okay, so and to answer your question about Black folks, I don't really know. Like, I can tell you, I shared my story with you today of what I was hearing on the radio. And if you're hearing, the thing about the radio is, for every call you get, there are thousands of listeners that are the people that are listening. They don't call in, they just listen.
Mm-hmm.
And people, and I can tell you where the places that I go, people are paying attention. They're listening. They're angry. They don't believe that Trump's a racist. And even if they do believe he's a racist, they know the Democrats haven't done a damn thing for him. So they go, well, what the hell? Like Donald said, what do I have to lose?
Right.
So a lot of these folks are like totally discombobulated, man, because they, it's dawning on them that that's why they want all these illegals in here. That's why they want all these immigrants in here, because they will vote Democrat because the Democrat Party is for the poor person, right? So they're losing and have lost. And I said this back in 2000. I said, I said this back in 2008. I said this to Republicans. I've said this to RNC, that the Black Americans are tired of Democrat lies and Democrat inaction. Democrats, every election cycle, they do 2 things. They run the Black churches. They talk about lowering crime rates. They talk about criminal justice reform. They talk about how mass incarceration. They talk about improving education. Those things kind of rhyme, don't they? And guess what? nothing ever gets done. I'm 67 years old.
Right.
I'm 67 years old. I have heard this for over 57 years. I've been following politics very closely since 1960 in the Kennedy-Nixon debates. So I was 8 when that happened. But I really started following politics very closely, and I can tell you that nothing has changed. Democrats have done absolutely nothing to improve education. They've done nothing to crack down on mass incarceration. In fact, in all the Democrat cities, the Democrat-controlled cities, we had race riots. We had race riots. Why? We had race riots because of police misconduct in black neighborhoods. Watts blew up because of police misconduct. Detroit blew up, police misconduct. Washington, Baltimore, police misconduct. So these are cities that where Democrats are in charge, have been in charge, and refuse to employ, share the wealth in terms of contracts with their black constituents, especially here in Chicago, a city that's 42% black, where blacks have less than 0.5% of city contracts. Oops, did I say that? Did I let the cat out the bag? Oh my God.
Yes, you did.
But look, man.
So,
to answer your
but are they going to? Is there going to be a reversal in the blacks, the percentage of blacks who vote for Trump in 2020?
Oh yeah.
Versus the percentage of blacks
who
voted in 2016?
Oh yeah. I would say at least 30%, 35%. I would say at least 35%.
You're saying 30 to 35% of blacks who vote are going to vote for Donald Trump.
Right. I say that over they said that 12% voted last time. Whenever you hear that word 12%, know that people are lying. For ever since I have been born, black Americans have been 12% of the population of America. My friend Art Fletcher, who was an undersecretary or assistant secretary at Labor used to control immigration. There was a concerted effort to keep the black population at 12% using the immigration process. So whenever you hear George Bush got 12% of the black vote, Donald Trump got 12% of the black vote, why is it always 12%? That's in the message. Those of us who know the code, we know the code. And that is the code. Donald Trump, I bet you got 20, 25% of black vote last time. This time around, he's going to get 30, 35%, if not more. And people are scared to death. People are scared to death, Dan.
Let me ask you one more question, then I got to go. So forget about Hillary for the moment. Who's going to be the nominee from the Democratic Party?
I think it will probably play out like you said. Pocahontas doesn't have any juice. Biden is dead in the water. They can say that there is no quid pro quo, but anybody with a modicum of intelligence knows that what Biden did was absolutely quid pro quo. And now we find out that not only was Hunter getting $50,000, it's more like he was getting $116,000 a month from the Ukrainians. So people aren't buying the narrative on Biden. Biden is toast. But they needed to get Biden out. The Democrats wanted to get Biden out, okay? Because they know that Biden can't beat Trump. Trump's going to walk all over him. Pocahontas doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell. I don't think there's any American woman politician that is going to be accepted as the commander in chief. White women and black women just aren't voting for a woman, any of these women currently out here to be president, and that includes Nikki Haley, who's very wishy-washy when it came to Trump. So hey,
But you still haven't told me who the candidate's going to be.
It's going to be Hillary.
Oh, it is. You're buying my story now.
No. You're not the only one with that story. Renard Jackson.
I was the first telling that story over a year ago.
Yeah, Renard Jackson was saying that a year ago. And I said, Renard, come on. He's like, yeah, man, Hillary's gonna run again. I'm like, no, Hillary's done. He's no. Hillary's gonna run again. You said it too. Of course, you said it too. But there are other people who, you guys are smart. I mean, you're on it, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. Don't get me wrong.
Now, did this guy put the same caveat that I put in? The caveat I put on Hillary, assuming she's not led away in an orange jumpsuit.
No, he didn't put that in there. But I certainly want Hillary. I certainly want Hillary. Well, see, Jeff Sessions wasted a lot of good time for us because of his wishy-washy stuff. Okay. Did you hear me? Did you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Sessions blew it. Jeff Sessions blew it.
And here's my greatest fear. We got Durham, we got Horowitz, and we got Barr, all bringing out reports sometime between now and the conventions, if not sooner. I wish I had more confidence that some freaking Democrat is going to go to jail, but I'm not convinced that that's going to happen.
Well, it may not, but the Barr. This is all I have to say. I think that William Barr is going to do the right thing. He's going to do the lawful thing. He's going to bring people to justice that need to be brought to justice in the correct way. He's a prosecutor. That's all I can say. That's all that's my comment.
Okay.
On that. Okay.
All right, brother, I got to go.
Hey, man, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for calling in. Appreciate you as always. And we'll do it again next week. Hey, listen. What's that website again?
For the cannabis show?
Yeah.
W420radionetwork.com. 4:20 in the afternoon on Saturday is the new show. And you go to the website, w420radio.com, and you can go to the archive section and listen to other shows.
Okay, so it's w420radio.com.
No. Radio Network.
Yeah, you left that out last time. I had that written down. I crossed it out. So you got to repeat you have to say the whole thing, Dan, just to let you know. Because I'm taking notes here.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Hey, man, thanks again.
That.
All right.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, bye. Dan Perkins, my brother from another mother. He's a great guy. Love him to death. Hey, look, we rolled into another hour, and we're gonna sign off now. So thanks for streaming out there. Appreciate you. We're gonna end that show and